We're 7 movies deep into this franchise, which doesn't even sound like a real sentence when I say it out loud. Tom Cruise is like 50 or something, and the first one of these movies came out in like 1996. This franchise is older than me, and this is a part one. We're going to be 8 movies deep, whether we like it or not. Lucky for me, I like it. I do have to say that Mission Impossible movies are my guilty pleasure. Mission Impossible movies are for me what Marvel movies are for the general public. I just cannot find it in me to hate these things, even when I know they're like not trying. However, also similar to the general public in Marvel relationship, the more movies that come out, the longer it goes on. I am starting to reach that point of disillusionment where I am reaching sort of my boiling over point. But before we get into all of that, let's start with who should go see this movie. Um, for starters, me. I should go see this movie, and I'm the type of person that has a refined taste, not in the high snobbery sense, but more so in the sense that I know exactly what kind of movie I want to go see. And Mission Impossible isn't that type of movie. Mission Impossible is the type of movie where you go in and you just kind of turn your brain off for a little bit and let them tell you how this crazy complex uh, what would be practically inconvenient security system can be broken by whatever convoluted technology they come up with to bypass it, or whatever ridiculous plan. And this that's my favorite part about that, but we'll get into that. The people that should see this movie are people that just love action blockbusters. Um, the added length of this movie gives you even more of the action, which I think people will enjoy. I think this is just a good movie just to go see. Unfortunately, I do think that if you're not really jumping out of your seat, I'm not going to tell you to do it. I'd say you could probably just wait for it to come out on streaming services. Let's get more into it. The storytelling, as with all the Mission Impossible movies, is adequate, I would say. I'm using that as a synonym for decent here. Adequate because, I'm not checking in here so that I'm not looking for the green mile. I'm not looking for something to like tear me apart emotionally or anything. I just need something that I can follow along with. And Mission Impossible movies do tend to allow that. They make it. They usually make it pretty accessible to the average viewer to just see what you're seeing and not um, have to keep track of any like loose threads or anything. But there are bits of confusion at times. I will say it's more than likely because of the length. Like, we meet a few characters very early on, relatively early on in the movie, and they don't reappear until like the third act. And because this movie's like 2.5 hours, yeah, 2.5 hours, I had to like try to recall who they were. And the main reason that is because 2.5 hours is not a long time. If I meet someone, I'm not going to forget their name 2 hours later. If I meet someone and then I travel to 3 different countries, uh, chances are at the end of 2 hours, I'm going to have to snap my fingers a little bit. And when you're in a movie that has an entire third act action scene, um, and like an entire act long action scene, you don't really want to be snapping your fingers to remember exactly what this person is because they said it once in a throwaway line at the very beginning of this movie. So, but again, storytelling. You don't come into a Mission Impossible movie looking for the best story you've ever heard in your life. I definitely don't expect like a Saving Private Ryan or anything. I come here for the action scenes, which leads me to my next point. The action scenes in this one did not really do it for me. I didn't really get what I wanted out of it. The action scenes in this one are kind of I don't know if it's because they had the extra length that they knew that they were going to work with that these scenes ended up so long, or if it's because these scenes were so long that they ended up with the length that they ended up with. Because one specific scene just seem to go on for so long. And it's such a staple of the Mission Impossible series to have like the action set piece, but to also have it be like at least marginally subtle, because it's a the IMF is an organization that's supposed to be a secret. So these large action set pieces don't really fit that vibe. I will say that at least they give you moments to breathe every now and then. Within these super long scenes, they have little breaks where you can kind of like catch your breath. They expect you to be on the edge of your seat, I assume, and they give you the moment to pause and catch up. Just take a quick rest on the eyes, a quick visual rest before they throw you right back into it. But because the scenes are so long, it happens a few too many times, and I got tired of it. One thing I'll never get tired of, however, is Haley Atwell, and that's all I'll say about that. Speaking of the cast, acting is acting. I mean, these guys aren't they aren't going to win any prizes for writing. Um, but I think we should give the actors and actresses at least a little something for having to try to deliver some of these lines. I'm just not a big fan of like the clunky at times sounding dialogue, but that's just my personal thing. But again, like I said before, I'm not. This isn't supposed to be Hamlet or anything. I'm cool with it being all right. I like that all the resources are diverted into what they know we're here for. That being said, a few of the characters kind of just make it feel a little bit bloated. So I can't. I don't really think I can credit it to their bad acting per se, but they do just. There are just a few characters that feel like they just don't really want to be there. They're only in the movie for so many scenes, So it feels like they just kind of like phone it in, where they're not really trying. But acting obviously is very difficult. It's not anyone can do this, and obviously not anyone gets casted into as big of a blockbuster movie as Mission Impossible. A lot of the ones that I'm referring to just come off as like dry, and they have other projects that they'd rather be doing rather than the 7 scenes they have in a movie that's 8 years long. I don't know. At most, I'm kind of leaning towards a solid 3 out of 5. Again, it's because these are my guilty pleasure movies, and I just can't help myself. Had I not been such a big fan of Mission Impossible movies and what they did to revolutionize the spy film, I would definitely be leaning a lot more below 3 out of 5. This is just my own personal bias coming into play here, but it's my channel, and so I'm going to call this a 3 out of 5. That being said, let's move on into the spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, get out of here. And if you have, let's go ahead and get into it. The car chase scene in the more recent Mission Impossible movies, anyway, seem to be like the staple. Every single one has the foreign country car chase. However, they've at least had the they've at least tried they at least attempted to try to make us believe that the car chase could happen undercover in a sense. Obviously, a high speed car chase through the streets of any city is going to catch some news. But this is the IMF. Okay, we in the beginning of the movie they have the top intelligence agencies all in a room uh, with the director of intelligence, and only a few of them even know what the hell the IMF is, right? And I'm okay with that. Like it's kind of like it's a little bit cheesy that there's the agency that no one has ever heard of, that no one will know of if you need unless you need to know about it. But you can't have it both ways, where they're these undercover agents of a black ops organization, super secret spy stuff, and then also have a super conspicuous high speed car chase involving most of the police force of this foreign city, this foreign European city, a major I should say, a major American tourist destination, because now you're not only asking me to believe that the locals don't have their phones out, especially in this day and age of this crazy stuff going on, but also the the gaudy Americans wouldn't also have their phones out and be telling everybody that they know back home, holy crap, guys, look at this. Because they had a shootout in the middle of a popular street. It wasn't, they weren't like shooting at each other with silenced pistols through the freeway where it's just like people that like they pass by would be like, oh man, what's going on there? Those people are driving like crazy. No, the cars were stopped. One of the characters literally stole an armored SWAT vehicle and started ramming cars for fun. This is not stuff that you can just cover up. I'm on board with the undercover spy organization. I'm not on board with you telling me that people aren't going to ask questions about this stuff. And even if we're not thinking about the public aspect of it, right? Because who cares? The public asks questions all the time. We do it all the day. We do it all day in our everyday lives, and nothing comes out of it. My thing is that the people that are in power that don't need to know, like the director of intelligence at the beginning, didn't even know who the IMF was. If he sees that go crazy and nothing comes out of it, right? They didn't, because the cops didn't get anything. Everyone involved in that got away. Every single person involved in that got away. The cops didn't get anything. The cops actually People actually died on the police force. A bunch of people actually died. They got killed by in the fire, in the gunfights. And you're going to tell me that the director of quote unquote intelligence is going to see something like that and just be like, oh man, they're wilding over there. No, he's going to ask some questions. And if he's not supposed to know about what the IMF is, how can they have something so large scale like that? And the proof, what I'm referring to here, uh, in regards to the undercover format, is like, think about the last few, where they had this super world ending threat impending, right? This impending doom hanging over their heads, and most people just aren't aware of it, right? Like, when they had stopped that nuke from blowing up the camp where Ethan Hunt's wife was, and they just didn't tell anybody. They went about their business and they found it and stopped it, right? And nobody else at the camp knew what the hell was going on. Nobody else knew that they were in danger, but the IMF knew they were in danger. And if they failed, then everyone would know they were in danger. But now, in this one anyway, we're having these large scale things. I'm just not going to buy that you can hide an organization like this while doing stuff like that. It just goes completely opposite and against it, which is another thing. We do so much more talking in this movie. Like, a lot. I think it's a lot more than we're used to be honest. And I don't want to be the one to say it, but as impressed as I am by old man Tom Cruise, I have to say I think maybe that age could be catching up to him just a little bit. I'm just gonna say it, just a little bit, maybe. I admire the whole market centering your marketing around the one big stunt that you do in the movie, but I think you kind of spent all your energy driving that fucking motorcycle off that cliff 80 times to get the perfect take. I'm not as impressed anymore from when compared to when he flew up there on the side of that plane. That was cool shit. As far as Mission Impossible movies go, as much as I love these movies, as much as I love these movies, this is easily the worst one in the series so far. And being that it's part one, doesn't really bode well for part two. And I'm really hoping that they were saving the big guns for the finale of whatever this arc is, because I gotta say, if I hear them say the entity one more time, I'm probably gonna tear my own ears off. God Almighty, please stop saying the entity. You're better than this. At least we used to be. So that's gonna be all I have to say about that. Thumbs up if you liked it, don't if you didn't. Subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next one.